It's your friend Manu Coelho with at least 10 reasons why you should be an educator. But first, let me give you an introduction about it. So, the National Center of Statistics for Education, American government, says that 45% of public schools are operating without a full teaching staff. In December 6th, 2022, 18% of public schools had one teaching vacancy and 27% had multiple teaching vacancies. We need to figure this out. We need to help our kids become future educators. Is the U.S. facing critical shortage of teaching in its public schools? I think so. Booking.edu, another website, reports that all 50 states have reported shortage in at least one subject area. This has been going on for decades now, and COVID-19 pandemic only worsened things. My question, have you ever thought of giving up, quitting education? And what is your main reason for that? To be honest with you, this hasn't ever crossed my mind, except when I want to address other areas of culture that I know they're good for me and it would be nice to work with. I have dreamed of being a journalist and write for papers or be a full-time writer for bilingual education, building materials, books for children. But that is a good reason for quitting education. It's not because I'm not happy with it. It's not because I find no joy when getting up early in the morning and heading to my classroom. Why has it crossed people's and teachers' minds in the and that we see frequently that this is happening for more than a decade now? I wonder why, if it's only wages, if it's stress, if it's lack of uh, professionalism in the area. Maybe some teachers weren't qualified to teach. That's not their degree. Why? What's going on? Well, with all the whys today, I just want to share some tips, some reasons why to be a teacher. And perhaps these ideas will contribute towards your path in education, not giving up, um, maybe sharing why you are in education with other kids, especially when you're in your classroom, being the example, the role model to your students. That's why From School to a School exists. That's the purpose. I've known these numbers for a while now, and the idea of having this podcast is to contribute towards education. There's nothing, no other area of profession that I can tell will contribute towards a better society than the one of education. And if we as educators understand our important role in helping our children figure out why being an educator is an excellent opportunity to life, we gotta have a better society and better structures for education. So the first reason, I have it here, I listed some of them, is number one, you are creative all the time. So if you're a person who is engaged into being creative, being fluid, being innovative, this is where you can be the most of you while teaching. you engage in creative process, in creative thinking, in building a creative culture in your classroom at all times. I know we have a set structure to be followed, testing time, and standards to follow, but still, you are the one guiding your creative process for teaching. And that is a plus when being a teacher. Second one, you rule your kingdom. I see my classroom as my own realm. It's my life being shared with kids. I can set up strategies, I can set up rules, I can be the one that will help my classroom look like what I feel is most important or most desirable place to be in. So you are ruling your kingdom. You are the queen, the king of that place. You are the one, the expert to make that place your society, the place where kids will feel welcomed and engage with you in learning. Reason number three, you help kids figure out life. I know you're not a parent to those kids, but you are there long hours a day to help them figure out life, to understand the values, the concepts, the ethics, the moral, the principles, differences. You can teach respect. You can help those kids understand why they're learning what they're learning. You can explore the deepest level of connection to the world that these kids will have in the future. I think that is just a brilliant opportunity for you to love teaching. Reason number four comes right after what we talked about figuring out life, because you are the one who instructs. So you are there to guide their path. You were showing them step by steps of a life process of math, of science, of a language structure. You are giving instructions. And if you are a person who likes to give instructions, that is a perfect fit for you. Number five, you forge characters. You are the one who is shaping kids' life. And you can help kids figure out what they would like to be in the future. You are conducting the orchestra. You are shaping, like a person who works with iron, building a knife for a war. You are showing the kids how the process works, how to uh, make them engage in the society in which they live, be important, feel welcomed. And this is such a huge part of our job when being a teacher. You're forging characters. You're teaching kids who they are, how to feel welcomed and belonged in a society. And this you do in your classroom when you engage them in community work or in group activities or individual assignments that will express their own self. And through that, you can help them enlighten their path and guide them through what they are supposed to be. And that is just amazing. I love that part of my job. Number six, you guide literacy. There is no more important subject or area of education or in education that that the literacy one. To be literate, to be capable of reading and understanding, to be able to engage in the words and make it happen in a way that kids actually love reading and know what they are reading and why they are reading what they are reading. That is just, to me, it's fabulous. It's like um, feeding a child food when they're born because they have no sense of, they feel the hunger. You know what I mean? The baby is born, it's hungry, and the mom feeds the baby towards something bigger, towards growth. Feeding kids with literacy is like giving kids some milk to grow in life, right? It is just the brightest and the most amazing way to have kids understand why education happens and why an educator is such an important job and how much it contributes to a society. Number 7, you help brains develop and think. Isn't it so amazing that you as a person, a human being, you are just helping other little brains to develop in deeper levels at their own pace on how to think, how to process every information they get. You are sharing, um, let's say, a content on science, which is what I teach here sometimes, and they have the concept of scale and proportion, and why does the sun appear bigger or smaller, and why is it, what happens to the planet while this is all changing. And kids with those bright eyes start asking questions, and they give you information about something they read. They contribute in conversations and discussions, and they're developing their thinking, their brains, the plasticity of what brain is capable of doing. To me, that is a top of line why I should be an educator and continue to be an educator. Number 8, 9, and 10 are correlated, and I would like to mention them all at once so we can think together and hopefully make you desire to be a future educator and teach your kids why they should be future educators. You got long vacations. You know that. Your summer's long. You got the breaks along. So this is a good point. Number 8. Number 9 is that you can be a present parent. As a woman, I know I would love to just nurse and feed and be together and see the first steps. I know the legislature um, has a different structure in America, but as a Brazilian teacher, I was able to be with my child for 5 months before I came back to the classroom. But you can be a present parent even though you're not in this huge long maternity leave in the U.S. But every weekend with a child, you're there. Every holiday with a child, you're there. You can carry your child to the same school as you work at, which is my reality. My 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 daughter has been with me the whole time in the schools I've taught so far, and that is a huge present to me as an educator. And 10, you have some flexibility compared to other professionals that you know they don't. You know, you don't work late hours at night. You don't need to be using your time towards um, meetings out of work. So I feel like still being a teacher, you are full time in the school of while you're working, but you have some flexibility. You can take days off. My district is amazing. I can have like personal days. I have physical days where I'm sick or I have to leave for some reason. And the flexibility, once you learn that you matter more than what you do, because some teachers have a hard time figuring this out. You cannot take work home. You should not be grading assignments on the weekends. You should not be taking your pile of papers. What I I did this in the past. I worked in a school. I had more than 600 students to be graded every 15 days, and I've taken trips to the beach with a pile of tests to correct, and I understood that this is not happening anymore, and it won't. And since then, it hasn't, because I decided that my health is above any other work I do. But you have some flexibility, right? So why not being a teacher? I seriously would love to expand the only 10 reasons I gave you today to 101 reasons why you should become an educator. I believe there's educators out there who know way more um, reasons why we should be teaching, and I would love to hear from you as well and get this list longer to be able to share, engage people in education. Think of the opportunities you have in life to be the best version of you, in contact with tiny little brains who are that are developing, kids who are engaging in learning in life and in the creation that is around us, and helping them to be their best versions. That is so fascinating to me. I wouldn't quit it for nothing. I can add my desire to be a journalist in a huge newspaper, or to be a writer, and still work in a classroom to make sure they inspire me to be a better teacher and continue on the movement. Well, thanks for being here. Thanks for listening to these reasons. From School to School is why this exists. We should be considering kids to, while in school, return to school as educators. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I see you next time. And remember, you are an educator, and I believe in you. Oh, one more thing. It's the legal language. This podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. It is not intended as a substitute for the advice of a physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or other qualified professionals.